to say.
Podcast 104.
Harry back.
Podcast 104. Podcast 104.
Merry Christmas!
Pre-Merry Christmas.
It'll be Merry Christmas time.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. We're supposed to say Happy Holidays now, right?
No,
Or is it
I
Merry
say Merry
Christmas?
Christmas. I say
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas, and I got my jammies on.
Please sit back down because I don't want to see that.
I got my jammies on, and there's a bug flying in my screen. I got them.
Podcast 104. We're going to talk about the best food plot because we're
Sure.
getting into that late season. So how these deer are fed through the winter and leading into that spring green up. This is a great time to discuss this
Great
because
time. Great
yeah,
timing, Dave.
yeah, because some people might have fails or maybe their food plots are, gone, ate down to the dirt.
Mm.
Maybe they got nothing because they got wiped out. They planted the wrong species according to their property.
He
Maybe
said
they got
species.
maybe they got too many deer and it wiped them out. So um we're going to talk about that and how you can maybe plan to have a better situation for next year. So we'll talk about a couple different instances, and I'll go over some stuff, and you can go over some stuff.
I got
And
bug in my face.
well, why don't you handle that later? Because we're on a podcast.
Can't. It's trying to get in my eyeball.
Focus, pay attention. People are listening. So
We're gonna talk about food plots, the best food plots.
yes, I already said that.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm waiting on you. Okay, so here's what I think needs to happen. Ready for this?
I'm ready for it.
I think everybody should just forget about planting food plots, call it quits, sell all your equipment, and just give it up. That's what I'm doing.
That is bad advice, Dave.
All right. On a serious note, here's what I think you should do. I think leading into next year, having a plan for next year, you need to evaluate this year. What did you plant? So brassicas are always kind of like that staple. Like everybody wants to plant brassicas because it's the ice cream, crop to deer, just like
Hmm.
chocolate chip cookies is to me. So um I want chocolate chip cookies all the time. Brassicas are kind of like that for deer, but the just because it's like that doesn't mean you need to plant it. What I think needs to happen is you should be planning based on not the rumors and the cool stuff you see on social media. You should be focused on planning what's appropriate for your area. What I have found is that if you are in a big wooded area, take the old farm for example, there was a lot of deer there, and when you start improving the habitat and you start planting food plots and cutting tree, whatever it is, you're going to attract more deer. More deer requires more food. So if you are solely relying on a supplemental feed program regarding food plots in a big wooded area, your best bet is probably not brassicas, right? You agree? Say yes or no.
I don't know. I think greens is a big attractant.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you shouldn't rely on brassicas.
Correct.
Yes. Thank you. So, um, you should be going to your greens because brassicas can get wiped out. Now, if you're planting, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 acres of brassicas, you might get away with it, depending on, how many deer you have per square mile within your area. So, um, grains are a very, very good attraction, not only during early season, September, October, November, December, but they will dig down to that in the winter when they have snow covered. So, and then the cool thing about it is when you plant like winter wheat, rye, or whatever, those things are the very first thing that greened up in the spring weeks before spring green up. I remember, and be honest with you, I think that's what truly improved the old farm. Because when we first got that thing, the deer were skinny, they just unhealthy, etc. There was no food on that place. So when you can provide that winter food source through the harsh conditions of a deer is in the dead of winter, and then you have that, there's warm days between December and January that kind of you get those 2, 3, 4 warm days, the grains perk up again. But then when you really start getting into March and then April, I've noticed probably, depending on the year, I bet you anywhere from 4 to 7 weeks of green food before a single green bud emerged on any natural browse in that place. So that provided all that green tonnage before spring green up. And it was like clockwork. When spring green up came, those buds started coming out on the browse. That food plot rarely got touched. They literally shifted their attention because when they start getting that browse on there, they focus on that. Then the grain allows itself to regrow because it's not getting browse pressure. Then becomes too big and stemmy and woody and becomes unattractive, so the deer stop touching it. So that's like a balance point between the winter time and spring green up is that winter wheat and winter rye. And I think it provides tons of food, literally, uh, to feed that deer to get them through that, coming out of the winter time into that spring green up, gives them the nutrition, adds the pounds on there leading into springtime.
It does.
So that's my opinion on that. I think it's factual, but it's also my opinion. But in a different scenario, you don't have many deer per square mile, and maybe that half acre brassica plot, will get you by. But even then, I still feel adding grains to it and having that grain base in there as well for spring green up still provides a food source. And not only that, you're improving your soil. You're going to have that soil in there, or plant in there, the grains, and you're going to be improving the soil leading you into your next food plot. So, I mean, I could go on for days talking about it, but
Yeah, you gonna hug up all the time or what?
yeah, like you did last time. Somebody messaged me on Facebook about that. They're like, dude, Chris wouldn't let you talk. I said, yeah, I know, he hogged all the airtime.
That's hilarious.
So what's your thoughts?
Well,
Spitball here.
I think clover's king. I
Hmm.
mean, people. I mean, there's clover and grains are like the easiest thing to plant as long as you don't bury the seed too deep.
Hmm.
And like starting out, or people that don't understand well about plotting and just want to try it out for the first time, I mean, those are very easy
Hmm.
recommendations to make. And
Yeah.
um, you have less of a failure rate too. Um, these and depending on what brassicas people are planting, a brassica is a generic word. I mean, there's so many things that's considered a brassica, uh, different types of seed, and depending on which one they're planting, it could cause a failure as well. But if you're going to go with brassicas, the easiest thing to establish would probably be like the rapes or the purple tops. Um, and they're that is like usually, like you were saying, the ice cream, the easiest thing to establish as far as brassicas go, and that's the thing that they probably will hammer the heck out of the most, in my experience, in my area. Now, you've experienced it, and other people have experienced that they planted brassicas and deer didn't even touch the things.
Hmm.
Um, it's area specific, I guess. I just saw a post about it today, as a matter of fact. You and I both know the fella that does a consulting business around my area, and he posted that the difference in the land that he when he first started it, the first couple of years he started to plot his property, that the deer only ate the green tops off of them. They didn't dig for bulbs at all. And he said now that he's been planting them in the same area for years on end, now he showed a picture of then and now, and the picture that he had up, they just destroyed it. And they're basically standing in a plot that looks like mud, and
Mhm.
but heads down, still eating right to the dirt. Um,
I'm not quite sure who that is, but I'll find out when
well,
we get off.
yeah, you know him well, but we I truly do think that the grains in the clover though
Mhm.
is the way to go. Um, I've transitioned all my plots back to clovers. Uh, I do have a spot here and there that I will hunt over that I do put in a small uh, strip of brassica just for that extra attractability, hoping that they would truly like it in addition to the clovers. And that did work very well this past year. I mean, minus the drought like conditions and things that we had. It wasn't a beautiful plot by any stretch, but I went over and looked at the my food plots here the other day, and that one was a late bloomer because we started getting the moisture into October and things
Mhm.
when everybody was giving up on their plots.
It was
I
dry,
just
man.
was it was dry, but everybody had given up and was like, "Screw this! I'm not worried about it no more." Well, I just I kept putting some water to it. Uh, I fertilized a little bit with some straight nitrogen and things. Tried to give it a boost that way, so any moisture that came along, it would it would get a little feed from that.
You
And
gave it a boost.
I did give it a boost, and it juiced up. And the center portion over there, I have two blocks of clover on both sides, and the center portion was the wingman from Domain,
You need a
and
booster seat.
it it
You,
it is
you
green, green, green,
ignored
green.
it. You
I
need a
did
booster
ignore it.
seat.
I did ignore it. It is very green in the center portion there. I mean, the clover's still great looking, but the wingman in the middle is very green right now. And I went, like I said, I went over there the other night and I was touching up some vines and getting camera cards and things, swapping cards, and there was 7 deer. Now, rifle just ended on Saturday, and this was Monday evening,
Mhm.
and the deer were already back out in the plots. And that's another thing. Um, if we're going to talk about attractability, and this portion of time right now is when the deer are trying to recover from being chased around. And if you have something that's decent in a plot, they're going to start hitting your fields here real quick, your
Mhm.
plots. Um, I've got them on camera. I've got them. I'm seeing them out in the field in the plots already. Um, I haven't seen bucks, but I mean, there's a million does out there, and that's great because I have late flintlock season coming the day after Christmas, and it's until January 20th, and I have a couple tags. So
You
with these
s-
doe coming around, I should be able to bag a couple doe here.
speaking, I got three things real quick
Hmm.
on that clover thing you're talking about. I agree,
Yeah.
Clover King. It's best all around.
Hmm.
But the only thing I will say with that is, even though if you're planting clover, I think it still benefits to plant grains because the grain is still going to green up faster than the clover in the spring.
Hmm.
So you're
And
going to
that's
have that extra
and that's
food.
why I don't have just a solid block of
Yeah,
clover.
yeah.
You
I
know.
just wanted to mention that so
Yeah.
people know.
Yeah. I broke it up, and that's why I have something in the center that has grains in it.
Yep.
So.
Second thing, before
Hmm.
I forget, is that the picture I sent you the other day, my buddy Fields. Um, I just did some consulting with him over the phone.
Oh, the guy that got the nice buck?
Yeah, local. He's about 30 minutes from me, but
Yeah.
he planted his first food pot this year in the spring. He planted clover, right?
Okay. Hmm.
So he planted clover. He got it established good. I think he was using IMOX, get some wheat, got it going good.
Yeah.
But his wife killed a really nice. She's pregnant. She killed a very nice bow buck over it during the rut, and he's
Oh,
only got like 10 acres, but over the clover. Then whatever it was a week ago, I wake up and he texts me a really, really
and
nice
he
buck
got
he
a nice
shot
one.
over the same food plot, which was clover. And here we
Nice.
are in mid December.
Right.
So clover can be a very powerful thing.
That's a good tool.
I had clover on the farm, and deer will dig down in the snow to get to it. You know,
Hmm.
it does go dormant. Usually when you get the cold temps, it will kind of go dormant. But
Yeah.
if there's nothing else there, then they're still going to eat it.
Right. And I
Um,
I had a big Instagram post there last winter because somebody made a comment to me and said that they won't dig for clover, and I
oh, they
I
will.
took them out behind the camp and uh showed all the spots that they dug down and was eating the clover because that's all I had planted over there was clover only.
I got it on video
You know.
that they'll dig down to it. Now it'll be dormant to where it's not physically growing, and then when a plant is
Right.
dormant, yeah, it's not as palatable.
But
It's
it's
not.
there
It's there. It's
and they
green.
know it.
It's right. It's not actively, I guess, taking in nutrients, so it's going to be less palatable and stuff. But the deer 100% will dig down
Sure.
and eat it. Just
Hmm.
like people say that deer won't eat alfalfa,
Mm.
after it gets a frost. But I've seen videos and stuff where the deer will eat it. So just you can never say no in the deer hunting world.
Yeah, I think that's actually an accurate statement because you like you said earlier, you get people saying that, "Oh, they didn't eat my brassicas. They won't eat my brassicas." Well, I'm not sure that they weren't eating your brassicas. They may have tried to eat your brassicas and didn't like them.
Hmm.
Maybe some kind of fertility was off and they were bitter or something, they just didn't taste right to them. I don't know, but uh yeah, I've seen some deer lately eat some weird stuff and it was like, wow. You know, like I had the boy down in the shanty during rifle season and a couple of doe came in and she had her head up in the pine boughs and I thought she was like in there working a licking branch or something. But then I put the binos up and here she was actually eating the pine boughs, which she has no reason to. She was coming to my food plot. There was food right there in the food plot. There's no reason because we always tell people, if they're eating ferns or pine boughs, usually that is like a sign of starvation mode, survival mode or something. But
You know what
there's
I
no,
think?
there was no
You,
reason for that.
you know what I
It's just
think it is?
diversity. I think that's what I think.
Yeah, like you said, diversity. But I think what happens is, and I'm not about. It's just my opinion, but um, deer eat over 700 different species of plants, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Um, I think what happens is that there's many things we see the deer or we don't see the deer do that do things. They do things that we don't see. So you know, like if sometimes humans are stupid, but like if we eat, say we eat, steak every single day. I mean, you can argue that you get all your nutrients, but we're going to be missing other nutrients, right? So if deer only eat one single food plot, that food plot is going to be missing some sort of nutrient. So
Yeah,
maybe there was something in them pine needles that
yeah,
that deer knew it had to eat to balance its diet.
yeah.
I think there's certain nutrients, obviously, in different things, and they know what to do to balance their diet. Just like,
They do know.
yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know
deer eat.
how, but
It's just human. They know what to
they
do.
they
You
do
know,
know what to do. I
just
was
like
at a
you,
show. Good.
just like you saw deer eating the bottom, the roots of
The
a fern,
ball,
right?
yeah, the
There was
ball.
something in there that that deer needed.
Yeah, he was literally picking the fern out of the ground,
Mhm,
popping it out, and flipping it in his mouth. He didn't
mhm,
drop it or anything. He just rolled it around in his mouth until he had the root ball in his mouth, and
mhm.
he chewed that up almost like a wild onion or something, and then
Hmm.
just dropped the green right out of his
Look,
mouth. And
it's
he
so
just kept doing
interesting.
that. And I would have never ever believed it if I didn't film it.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was out of
so
a tree stand that I filmed that.
yeah, that's so
Um,
interesting.
it was very interesting. I
There
forget
was
what I was
something
just
there.
gonna say though. I was gonna tell you. I was just gonna say something and I forgot.
Something there that he
But
needed.
yeah, but they. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I was at a show one time and a guy was trying to. He was a supplemental feed type of guy selling supplemental feed like deer pellets that smelled.
Raccoon feed.
Yeah, basically, they smelled like apples or something, and but he was telling me where he is at. He was not an advocate of dumping stuff in the dirt, as I am not either. I don't like them to have to eat dirt, but they will. I mean, they can and will, and it doesn't really hurt them. But
I know fawns eat dirt because it
I
helps
mean, there's
their
vitamins and
digestions.
minerals in that too, I'm sure. But anyhow, he said that he doesn't like to make them eat dirt and doesn't like to dump it on the ground. So he makes like little stands, wooden stands, and he puts the supplemental feed on the stand. But he says he takes a box of baking soda and he sprinkles that food towards the back of the feeder. Now he doesn't sprinkle over the food. He just puts a little pile of it back there behind the food. And he said the deer know when they need that they will lap up that baking soda. And he said, think about it. You get like digestive problems or heartburn and things like that. He said deer will get that way too. And when they get a funky feeling, he says they will eat that and that will neutralize like their stomach or whatever,
Hmm.
in the rumen. And I said, well, that I don't have any way to prove that. I said, but it sounds good, you know. I
Well,
said
that
that
when
it
they,
kind of makes sense, but I can't prove, or
yeah,
neither can he probably prove that that's really what it's there. What he puts it out there for.
yeah, it
But
just neutralizes the acid or whatever.
you
But
know,
it's usually in feed. You'll see it in there. You know, as uh, what is it? Bicar
sodium bicarbonate.
yeah, sodium bicarbonate. You'll see it in the feed. Um, so yeah, there's something to it.
Well, there has to be something to it because it's probably all the additives that they put in to make it smell like apple or whatever. It's probably
Yeah,
not really good for them, so they
no,
put that in there to neutralize it.
right.
You know, but yeah, it was a protein pellet vendor, and he was telling me that's what they do. They put some baking soda along with their mix, and the deer come along and
Keeps
they
it
know
fresh.
he said they don't always do it, but they know when they need it and it's there for them and they eat it when they want to.
Keeps it fresh.
I thought it was interesting. Like I said, I don't know that there's any. I don't know. Maybe somebody knows. I don't know, but I don't know that there's any information to back that up. But that would be really interesting if somebody knew something about that
You
that
need a
could
step
prove
stool.
that could prove it. So
You need a step stool.
whatever. It's Christmas.
How low do you put your lowest stick on the ground to climb a tree? 6 inches off the ground so you can lift your foot up, lift your foot up to
Oh
it.
my gosh! I'll kick you in the face. I don't need to go low.
2 feet, 1 foot. What?
Whatever.
You're upset.
I got an aider, so it don't matter. I
You're
could put the,
steaming.
I could put the stick 3 foot high and put the aider down low.
Your blood pressure's high right now.
Wouldn't matter.
140 over 97.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. So
overall.
overall, if somebody had to pick a food plot to plant, would it be clover
I'd
or
go
would
with
it
clover first.
listen? Would it be clover or grain based? Give it 5 seconds and answer.
Nope,
Clover. If
nope. I'm
somebody
going with
had
clover.
listen, if somebody had no clue what to do, clover or grains.
I'm going with clover. It's
Okay.
easiest. It's
Okay.
easiest because they can, if they have bare dirt anywhere, they can just go broadcast it before a rain and still have a plot.
Okay. I'm gonna
I'm just making it easy,
yeah. I'm gonna go against the grain here. I'm gonna
keep it
go
simple.
against you.
Against the grain. I see what you did there.
Yep. And I'm gonna pick grains.
Okay.
Yep. Because the grains you can plant in the fall. It's gonna feed the deer all fall, most of the winter, and be that first thing that greens up in the wintertime or
Mhm.
springtime, sorry, and you can work it from there. You can till it
Yep.
back in, you can replant it again, or in the fall, and you can
Yeah.
keep that cycle going and a rebuild. Now, I would also argue the clover. Clover is amazing. I
Well,
think
I'm
it's a
not against the grain.
yeah, no, no, yeah, I know.
I just
I'm
think
not
it.
either.
I
I'm
think
not
it's.
against the
I think
clover.
it's keeping it simple.
Yeah,
If somebody's newbie and wants to get started, but understand you're not going to go out there. I mean, you could also set yourself up for a failure too, because of weed conditions.
yeah, yep,
So you may not understand that. So, in certain instances, grains might be easier.
yeah.
You
I'll
know,
take
to,
it even a step further. Which one do you pick? Wheat, oats, or rye? Out of the three,
now
oats are going.
I like wheat.
Yep,
I like winter wheat the best.
oats are going to be your most palatable, but they're not
Yeah,
going to last as
yeah,
they're
they're
not
not
as
going to
hard
last.
as hardy as wheat and rye. Out of wheat and rye, which one do you pick? Like Chris said, I personally like the wheat. Rye would be next.
And
Those two mixed together is a good combo as well.
I'll tell you what sold me on that was an old farmer one time said, just pick just pick a handful of it and chew on it. He said, taste it for yourself. He said, you will taste that the rye is way more bitter and the wheat is sweeter.
Hmm.
And I thought, well, crap, if I was a deer, I would want the sweeter stuff,
And some
you
people
know?
argue, the rye is a little bit more cold tolerant than the wheat, but I
Yeah.
planted it, you know, and I don't see a difference really. I mean, they
Mhm.
still eat the wheat, in the dead of winter. I got videos I don't see a difference.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
y-
I would say that the only difference I could prove was when we had the farm there and we was in the Sad Daddy blind and we had that straight block of winter rye to our right, and we
mhm,
had the winter wheat in front of us. They would walk through the rye, head up to get to the winter wheat and get the head down and eat.
mhm, I agree.
And we shot all those doe in front of us
Mhm.
in the
They
wheat.
went they went right to the wheat.
Yes, they did. So to me, that was proof in the pudding.
Which another scenario, another argument, well, not argument, but just clarification on that. If I was a deer, I would have wanted to feed.
You'd just be a spike.
Listen, if I was wanted, I'm gonna kill you, Nick, because now I can't speak.
One horn spike.
If I was a deer, I would have wanted to feed in the rye plot because it was a smaller plot, more secure up against the wood line.
Mm,
Why walk through that across the road
yeah.
into a wide open field when you could feed on that? They literally walked right through there. All them deer fed in the wheat over the rye.
Hmm.
So now I'm
Strength.
not saying that's going to be everywhere.
Right.
That's my experience. Everything that I've seen is always the winter wheat over the rye.
Well, you can't go wrong mixing it, making it a blend either.
No,
Blend it up.
ab-
Put
absolutely
it
not.
all together. Wheat, oats, rye, and clover. Put it all in. That way it
I've
all becomes palatable at different times and
I've done that too.
you know,
Yep.
so can't go
All right,
wrong.
podcast 104
That's your best plot
in the books, and we'll see you guys back next week, and it'll be
after
w-
Christmas.
yeah, we'll actually be recording after Christmas next week. So You guys won't hear from us before then. So Merry Christmas to everybody. Today's Thursday, so next Wednesday is Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everybody, and be safe.
See ya, folks.
Later.
Ho, ho, ho.